Warnie says to me, I don't think I've told this publicly.
Hitting winning runs for Australia.
In fact, I was a right-hander up until the age of 8. But I turned around about left-handed because I just wanted to be like AB. There was Warnie again, just in his little Playboy underpants, smoking a cigarette. It makes you get a few goosebumps now just thinking about it, And he looks me straight in the eye and he goes, I'll bat my own fucking way, thanks, and sits down next to me.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, oh, coaching career done.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am very interested to chat to this man. We've got some random connections along the way, but you'll best know him from his time in the middle of the cricket pitch. Mike Hussey joins us. Hello, Huss. How are you, mate?
Boys.
Hello.
Great to be here. I've listened to a couple of the episodes, so I'm
Great.
a bit nervous, but also a bit excited.
Nervous?
So, happy to be here.
No,
Mate,
you're not.
Been out in
nervous.
the middle of a pitch in the MCG. You don't need to be worried about this.
Oh, I think sometimes this can be more daunting than being out there facing Dale Steyn.
Show of actor ball and bounces in your head.
Yeah, okay, maybe not.
Mate, if you've listened to some episodes, you'll know what's coming. Powered by Paywise, of course, BackChat in 2025. We want to know your greatest sporting achievement, okay? We ask this to everyone. Okay, yeah, Mr. Cricket, la-di-da, you can play cricket, right, awesome. Ashes and World Cups, and you've won games in the last over, all of that. We've seen what you do as a cricketer, and we're going to talk about that, I promise. But I want to know what you can do off the cricket field, out of the middle. What's your greatest sporting achievement thanks to TABtouch, not on the cricket pitch?
Yeah, not much. Cricket's pretty much been my life. I mean, I must admit I loved footy as a kid. Played a few years sort of in the juniors and stuff, but I had a neighbour who started up his own squash centre. I grew up in Mullaloo, way north of Perth, or half an hour north of Perth. Yep. And we had this neighbour who started up the squash courts, and my mum said, right, that's it. You're out of footy, my brother and I. You're going to go and play squash. You've got to support the local business. So yeah, sure enough, in the winter months, up to the squash courts probably twice a week. We'd be up there playing squash, and we got bit better at it, and I actually managed to about under 15s, so I got to number 3 in the state.
Wow.
And I was a bit dirty because
who's 1 and 2?
Because the top 2 guys, they get to go away to the National Carnival, and I was the reserve, but the reserve didn't get to travel. So I was a bit bummed out about that, but I still thought that's all right. Number 3 in the state for squash. Good game. Probably helped the cricket a bit as well. Footwork and looking at the little ball and charging around. But stuck inside the gym all the time was not going to work for me long term.
First squash player,
I
I
think
reckon
we've had squash.
Like you've done well for uniqueness, squash. I didn't think you was a squash fan. Interesting. So you're the first loser, effectively, as the third
Exactly right.
Do you remember the names?
Fraser Orr was a guy named number 1.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know what he's doing now, but he used to whip me. So I was never going to beat him, but no, it was good fun. Really enjoyed it.
Brilliant, mate. That's very good. You got me a bit rattled. I mean, anyone telling me about his...
You
Stuart
Hill 5 for 16 or something?
Very good.
I think you've said it.
It's gone around.
Have you said it every episode?
Yeah, no. I think you've probably just said it. You've been around the traps. You know it's good.
You won a hat trick as well, man.
Yeah, I was. Yep.
Wow.
What happened on the hat trick ball?
No, that was the final ball of the season.
Oh.
So I got 2 out in the last 2 balls.
So
and
the
then
first ball of the next season?
I reckon it was on the grass. I reckon I missed the pitch.
We've never actually discovered that. What did you do with it? Nothing. Or did you ever do it? Or did you just give up?
No, I played next season. I literally bowled it off the pitch.
Okay, well done.
I was rusty.
So I'll give Will a little bit of a shout out. So I coached one of your boys. Have you got more than one?
I've got 2 boys, but yeah, Will's the older one.
Coach Will in Aquinas footy 2 years ago, and made me think about what sort of kid he was, and then what sort of kid you were. Sporting family. What's life like growing up for Mike Hussey?
We had a great life. I must admit, we grew up, as I said, out in Mullaloo, about half an hour out of town. Big backyard. Dave, my brother, 2 years younger than me. I had 2 sisters as well that were younger, but it was Dave and I. He was England, I was Australia. He was Freo, I was the Eagles.
Why did he get the bad ones all the time?
Well, he was the enemy, so I didn't care. But our backyard battles were brutal. I mean, if there was spirit of cricket, we would have been banned for life. There was cheating, there was fights, there was swearing, there was bribery. Dave, he refused to play unless he got to bat first and got a couple of chances, and so of course I'd always want to be out there playing. So have to sort of succumb to all these demands. But probably where we learn our competitive spirit, really. playing in the backyard against each other. Yeah, we were enemies.
we had David Byrne on, and now with his job, obviously with the ICC, like he would have been full-time job daily with you blokes, like handing out.
We would have been banned for life, mate. We're not playing ever. So, when mum used to just send us out the back, get out there and play. When it's dinner time, I'll call you in. And so, we used to go hammer and tong. It was great.
So, apart from the squash prowess that you developed as a youngster, when does cricket become, is that something that you dreamt of as a kid? I want to play for cricket for Australia. And was it something, I know you debuted late as a test player, but was it something as a teenager that you were good at and it was an actual option?
Yeah, it's a funny one. I guess I don't remember. My dad sort of would tell me that he used to throw little blue metal rocks at me, and I'd try and hit him with a stick. That's how I sort of started cricket. But my dad hated cricket. He loved athletics. He was an athletics man. He was a good sprinter, 100s and 200s. He was going to try it for the Commonwealth Games, actually.
Really?
But he busted his ankle playing basketball the week before the trials.
Oh.
But he said he probably wasn't quite up to the grade, but still, he was a good runner.
Quicker than you.
He wanted it was a lot quicker than me, but he wanted us to do little athletics, and sports carnivals at school were the best days of his life. He just wanted to be there for those, but he hated cricket like with a passion. It was boring.
Big commitment for parents as well.
Exactly.
Like now that you're a dad, you actually understand a little bit.
I do appreciate that, yeah. But Dave and I loved it right from the word go. I mean, we must have saw it on TV or something like that. Alan Border was my hero. Used to love watching AB play. In fact, I was a right-hander up until the age of 8, but I turned around about left-handed because I just wanted to be like AB.
Actually.
True story.
Mate, that is unbelievable. So you've just decided to change hands.
Yeah, don't worry. There's a few times when I was in form slumps throughout my career, I thought, I better change back here.
I better stop pretending I'm a left-hander.
Yeah. But basically from about the age of 6, all I wanted to do was play Test cricket for Australia. That was my dream. Even like you get sort of school projects to do. You have to write a book. I'd write my book on Alan Border, or I'd write a book on cricket. Other kids are talking about fairies and whatever. But no, mine was all about sport. Loved all sports, but cricket was always my first love.
Yeah,
I think if you were playing nowadays, the whole right-left thing would be probably more
normal.
useful. Yeah, you'd just be swinging back and forth.
Yeah, I have tried to bat right-handed again, and it just doesn't feel right. So I don't know. AB was my inspiration.
It's interesting. You again looking back now, you've played for Australia, and you've done all that. But as a teenager or a kid like growing up, there'll be a lot of people that dream of it that don't get to do it. So again, now that you've done it, and not like reflecting on your whole life, I suppose, but does it seem remarkable looking back at childhood, Mike Hussey, that you actually got to live out your dream? It's
bizarre, I must admit, and probably more remarkable in my eyes because I didn't think I was very good. Honestly, I thought I was like a tiny little kid. I had no shots whatsoever. So I'd be playing in the under-12s for Whitford's Junior Cricket Club, and I would bat literally all day for 10. I had like a little leg glance down to fine leg and a little run to third man. I couldn't hit the ball off the square, literally. And but I had a good coach, and he just basically said to me, look, you're little, you don't have much power. Just develop a really good solid technique, good defence, because as the bowling gets better, the big kids that can sort of tee off, that they'll start falling by the wayside, and hopefully your technique will be able to hold up. And
who was the coach?
A guy called Bob Mitchell. That was great advice, and I just loved the game. I just wanted to be out there. But I always felt a bit inferior, even coming through the ranks through my junior years and club cricket and even into the state junior sort of pathway stuff. I always felt like I was inferior to everyone else. And it probably worked in my favour because it made me work harder than everyone else. Think, okay, well, I'm not as good as these guys. I've got to work twice as hard as these guys. And then, of course, it works out. You work on your technique, you get a good, solid basic game, and then you do grow and you get stronger, and suddenly the shots do start to come. But, I don't know. Just inside, I always felt like I wasn't quite good enough. And so, I mean, there must have been other people out there that thought I was, because I did get picked up, to play in the state under-15s pathway, 17s, 19s for Western Australia as well. But I don't know, I just didn't. I mean, I still look at, I've seen the photo of our under-17 trip. We're going to Canberra, first time I've ever left WA, and they're all sort of, decent sort of height, and I look like the mascot, sitting at the front, there's just tiny little kid, I look like a 12-year-old, So I just know, I never felt like I was quite good enough, and it probably helped me in the long run.
I was going to say, did that just stay with you? Because in my experience in footy, there's probably two types of players. There's the guys that are just superstars and they'll never be anything different to a superstar. Chris Judd, Josh Kennedy. They still work hard, of course, and probably the hardest workers. But then there's the rest of us who are like trying to prove something.
Yeah.
Or do you feel like that stay with you, or did you get to a point where you're like, right, I am good enough?
No, it's funny. I sort of see it as a positive because you just work your backside off because you just know you can't leave a stone unturned. You've got to work twice as hard as everyone else. But in the same breath, I felt like it was detrimental in a way as well because I was someone that tried so hard, wanted it so bad, trained so hard, put so much pressure on myself. And I wonder if by putting that extra pressure on myself, it actually held me back. I've been asked this question a lot, because I had to wait so long to get picked to play for Australia. It took me over 10 years of first-class cricket. And they said, if you wouldn't have got there if you weren't that intense, like hard-working sort of player. But I sort of think, well, if I was maybe just a bit more relaxed, took the pressure off myself, went out and was able just to sort of play a bit more freely, maybe I would have got picked a bit earlier, because I certainly had some periods where I was just doing my head in, by putting so much pressure on myself.
Where does your brother fall into all of this? Are you kind of playing alongside him most of the time? Or you get to play? Like, do you get to play with him?
So I'm 2 years older than him.
Yeah.
So in the pathway stuff, I was always going to be a couple of years ahead. But when we started playing grade cricket for Wanneroo, we were always pretty much in the same team. So he's the more natural talent. He could come out and just destroy attacks, and he would tee off and smash them everywhere. He worked pretty hard as well, but he probably not as hard as me, and he was a cheeky bugger as well.
Was he say that in past tense, or he is?
Nah, he's still cheeky, yeah. But if there was any sledging going on, Dave was always in the middle of it.
And what were you doing?
I learned very early. I sledged two guys in my life. The first guy made 150 and the second guy made 250.
Gee.
So I thought, okay, I don't think sledging. Plus, I'm also not quick-witted enough. So like someone will say something in the middle and I've just got nothing to come back. I'll get off the ground or back to the hotel or back home and I'll think, oh, yes, I should have said that. That would have been a great comeback, but obviously too late now.
Right, so Dave led the front.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever hear any good ones? Oh, you would have.
Dave could be nasty. He could be nasty. But the best sledge I heard was actually when I was playing for Wanneroo. I was batting at the non-striker's end. My mate was batting at the striker's end, and the keeper behind, I think he was from Midland Guildford, he was just teeing off on him. He was saying, geez, you're ugly. You're the ugliest cricketer I've ever seen. If there was an ugly 11, you'd be captain of the ugly 11. And my mate who was facing, he turned around to the keeper and said, yeah, I've seen your missus and she's batting number 3. So the slips were on the floor killing themselves laughing. We were killing ourselves. They held the game up for a few minutes. So it was bloody funny.
Cricket's...
Oh, so good for the sledge.
Yeah, a lot of guys we've chatted to, like, I feel like it's bred because of the sport. Like, you guys spend a lot of time... you're either batting, and obviously you got to concentrate pretty hard there, and you're concentrating while you're fielding, but there's a lot of downtime. Yeah, you're either sitting on the sideline watching the boys go, or you're in the slips chatting. Like, it breeds banter. Like, there's just so many great stories like that.
And then the batters just cop it because you
can't come back.
What else can you do? You're out there. It's 11v1 most of the time with the sledging.
Warney was the best. He had the most amazing cricket brain, like strategically, like setting players up and stuff like that, but also like the banter. I remember playing him in a Shield game at the Wacker, and it was last over of the day. And they had this rule where if there's a close infielder and the shadow goes over the pitch, then you, as the batter, you can say, no, I don't want that shadow on the pitch, clear that fielder out. Warney's like, he's knackered. It's a long day in the field. He's like, come on, Huss, hurry up. Just want to get over. I've got two strippers waiting for me back at the hotel, mate. Come on, let's go. And I was like, sorry, Warney. There's a shadow on the field, on the pitch. I want that gone. Huss, for goodness sake, mate, just get on with it. I'm saying, no, I want him. So the umpire cleared this field out and he goes, right, F you, Huss. And he came in, he bowled this over and he got me out, of course. LBW, fifth ball of the second last ball of the day, LBW. He said, bloody told you, Huss, you should have just bloody got off. I've got 2 bloody strippers waiting for me. Learned my lesson there. I should have just bloody got on with the over and played Warney out.
So it's interesting your thoughts on your Shield cricket and your state cricket years leading into playing for Australia. Like, hearing how you reflect on that time, like it sort of seems. I guess presume like other people that yards earned and the time you spent enabled you to then build it up. But do you look at it as a bit of maybe I should have just calmed down a little bit and not that piece of Australia, like playing for Australia, that much pressure on yourself? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it was always the goal. And when you get to play for WA, you're like one step away.
Yes.
And I wanted it so bad and I put so much pressure on myself. But it was also a tough environment to walk into in the WA team at that stage. It was that old school mentality, you know, make the young blokes feel like shit, treat them like shit, make them earn their stripes. And that's not probably what I would have thrived in. I probably needed a more sort of inclusive sort of environment.
Bit of love.
Yeah, you know, yeah, definitely a bit of love. But it was just the way we were, you know. And I mean, I even remember one of my first games. I was 12th man, and I'm in this room, in this dressing room with, you know, some of my heroes. I used to go down as a teenager and watch, you know, like Tom Moody, Justin Langer, Damien Martin, Big Joey Angel, Brendan Julian, all these guys. And suddenly I'm in the same dressing room.
Good team.
Yeah, it was a gun team. But anyway, I'm 12th man, so job as 12th man, you got to run around, get all the drinks, clean the boots, get their lunch, all that sort of rubbish. And Moods calls me over. Moods is a massive unit, you know, and, you know, scary. And he goes, Huss, come over here. He goes, I'm struggling with my sore back. I've got to take these 2 pills. I said, yep, what do you want? Gatorade, Powerade, water, what do you need, mate? And he goes, no, they're suppositories.
Oh, God.
I just need you to, you know, slip them straight up the back door. And I'm like, come on. And I'm this 19-year-old kid, right? And my hero's asking me to do this. And I'm like, no. And so anyway, I turned to Justin Langer. He's standing next to him. And, you know, JL's got those eyes.
Yeah,
like scary bloody eyes. And he goes, Huss, you're the effing 12th man. You get in there and you help your bloody teammate out, you know? And I'm thinking, far out. Is this serious? So I turned to the coach, who's a guy called Daryl Foster.
Just looking anywhere for someone.
I need something, you know? I'm starting to sweat. Turned to Daryl Foster. And he's the most kindest, gentle, natured guy you could ever imagine. And he's like, well, Huss, you know, you are the 12th man, you know, your teammates asked you to do it. And so I was like, oh. So Moods has taken me by the hand and started walking me towards the toilets, right? And thankfully all the boys burst out laughing and I didn't have to go through with the deed. But
you committed to it mentally by the sound of things.
I was going to have to, you know, I was going to have to, but that was my introduction to Shield cricket, and I was thinking, I don't ever want to be 12th man ever again in my life. You know?
Did you ever pay that back to any 12th man? You don't seem like that sort of guy, but I don't know. After you've had that happen to you, maybe you feel like I owe it to someone to give it to.
No, I wanted to give it to Moods back, but not that way. But I did go on a trip to Pakistan, and I came back, and those firecrackers that you can get over there, they're illegal in Australia, but I managed to smuggle a few packets of these firecrackers in. Anyway, a couple of years later, we were playing a Shield game at the Adelaide Oval, and Moods was in the shower and just singing away as he was, and I lit up the firecrackers. Small room, let these firecrackers in. That was probably the silliest thing I've ever done, you know. So I got smashed for that as well.
He would have shit himself.
Yeah.
What do you think? I always hear like WA cricket, like what was it, last year or the year before, we were on like almost a triple three-peat. You know,
yeah.
What is it about WA cricket that breeds such good teams?
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, it's big us versus them mentality. I mean, certainly when I was playing, it was like we hated the Vics, we hated the Blue Baggers, the New South Welshmen, we hated the Queenslanders, but we actually got on well with the Queenslanders.
Do you like anyone?
No, not really. South Australians, no. So we sort of like really had that us versus them mentality. Plus our conditions over here were quite unique. That no Eastern State team liked coming to Perth and playing on the whacker with that extra pace and bounce. So we always sort of won our home games, and you sort of win all your home games, and that gives you a sort of one leg into the final almost. And I mean, we had our challenges going the other way, playing at the SCG against the spinners from New South Wales. But I'm not sure. I think we've always had a good conditions, good sort of pathways to sort of come through as well. Like all the grade cricket's pretty strong, and nice pathways for the players to come through. But I'm not sure. Cultures have changed a lot as well. I mean, I talk about that culture that I walked into for WA. We had a very successful team, but it was tough and hard. And I made a pact with myself saying, when I become a senior player, I'm never going to treat a young player like the way I was treated. We never won the Shield for another 20 years after that.
So maybe you should have got the whip out.
So I think when JL came back, he probably built up the culture again, and we started winning. How many we won 3 in a row. I mean, I know Adam Voges is a coach now, but maybe it was a bit of work from JL behind the scenes as well.
So... yeah, it's interesting. We're talking before we chuck the mics on around like what cricket is now, and again, I'm very far from a cricket expert, but I just watching. I like watching cricket like anyone else, and state cricket in Australia, it seems to it's certainly lost its importance that maybe it was when you were playing state cricket. Like it was, you play state cricket and that's how you make the Australian team. Yep. Now there's 1,000 different competitions, and cricket is a very different sport. Like, how do you reflect on that? Like, I guess your pathway versus what some of the young guys are doing now, it's very different, isn't it?
It's so different. It's poles apart. I mean, I don't know. You could ask a lot of youngsters now, and when I say youngsters, let's say, I don't know, 14 and below, what they really want to do now. Do they want to play in the Big Bash? Do they want to play Test cricket for Australia? Do they want to play in the IPL? Do they want to play, I don't know, 50 over cricket? I mean, what is it you want to play? And I don't know what the majority of the answers would be. Maybe a lot of them would want to play just the T20 stuff. Maybe there's T10s, as well. So
the T5s rolling around somewhere.
At one point or another, there's just going to be a match where you get one ball each. Whoever hits the most runs, that's it. Done.
Yeah. So I don't know what the future holds in that respect. I mean, what's good hearing from a lot of the current professional players is the dream is still to play Test cricket for Australia. That's still the ultimate. That's the hardest form of the game. And I think it's the one where you get most respect from your peers as well. That's where you're revered the most if you can perform in the Test match arena. So hopefully if that remains true, then Test cricket will stay alive and players will continue to want to play. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what's going to be the future of the game, what players want to play. And I have heard some whispers from other countries that some players don't want to play Test cricket because it's too hard, it's too long.
Started hearing about a tiered system, like just the other day, like where you got, the top 4 countries playing each other more.
Yeah.
That seems to make sense to me a little bit. I don't know. You'll get a better place to answer it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I mean, I do understand the theory and it would provide good hard cricket and probably more context, I guess. But in the same breath, I quite like the idea of playing against all the other nations. I mean, I don't want just to be Australia, England and India to be the 3 strongest teams in the world and that's it.
Yeah.
I love it when, if we can help the West Indies get stronger again. New Zealand always sort of punch above their weight a bit. Pakistan, I mean, like they've got so much talent. They can beat anyone on their day, but we want to see it more often.
And fandom, like they've got proper fans.
Massive.
Yeah.
Bangladesh is a sleeping giant. The amount of people playing over there. South Africa, okay, financially are battling a bit, but mate, the history of cricket there is huge as well. So I don't want to just make it an elite sort of 3 or 4 teams. I think we still need to try and, make sure the other proud sort of cricketing countries are going well too.
Sorry, Dan. One thing that I would love to see back at state level and something I grew up watching as a kid, both in the crowd and watching, is like the Mercantile Mutual signs for players to hit.
Prize.
What else that you would know them? You would have played when that was happening.
ING. I think there's an ING.
Did you hit one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I think it was worth $200,000 at that stage as well.
What? You think what it was? If you hit one,
No, well, this is where a lot of arguments started because I didn't know. We hadn't talked about it as a team. What happens if someone hits a sign? And so what happened was it started at like $40,000 or $50,000 and every game it didn't get hit, it jackpotted up another $10,000. And so I got to it late in the season, no one had hit it. And it was at the Wacker. I think it was against New South Wales, I'm not sure. And it was worth $200,000. So and I was thinking, I don't know what to do with the money. Like, do I take the whole lot or do I have to split it up amongst the boys? And they're like, it's up to you. So anyway, I rang the ACA, the Players Association, and just sort of said, look, what's the go here? And they said, well, you've got a choice. I mean, Steve Waugh hit it last year. He took like 2 shares and gave everyone else 1 share. And I thought, well, it's good enough for Steve Waugh.
Was he the captain of Australia at the time, though?
Probably.
He probably wasn't struggling financially.
Yeah, he's doing all right. So, yeah, I know, that's right. I had a mortgage to pay off as well, So anyway, I thought, bugger it, I'll do that. And a couple of the boys were a bit stroppy with me. They said, no, it's got to be split evenly. And I was like, well,
they didn't hit it.
I've decided, Yeah, well, Murray Goodwin was good. He's like, no way, Huss, you should take the whole bloody lot, And but anyway, it caused a bit of a ruckus amongst the boys.
But strip it back. Are you trying to hit it? Like, know it's $200,000.
No.
There's no part of you that's like, if I knock this
off,
off,
are you even aiming in that area?
Where was it? Down the ground, hook shot?
Every left-hander's got a good slog over mid-wicket, so I was over mid-wicket. I'm not Gilly. I mean, Gilly probably would be able to aim for it and hit it. I mean, he aimed for one in South Africa. They had a big sign worth R1 million or something like that. I'm not even sure how much that is. And he was actually aiming for it, and I think he was going past left, right and centre. But I'm not that good. I was just trying to win the game for WA, and thankfully the sign got in the way.
Who was it that we spoke to recently that hit the edge of the metal or something?
Brad Hodge. And he was filthy.
Yeah,
he hit the post, and they didn't give it to him. He didn't hit the side. He hit the post.
Yeah, he would have been dirty because he does like his money.
That's very good. Okay, so state cricket. Before you debut for Australia, and was your first game for Australia ODI or Test?
I played an ODI, yeah.
But it's still the goal to play for Australia. Yes, end goal Test, but so what's that do you get a phone call? Like, what's the moment and the lead up to? You must be knocking on the door, and you must think, "Oh, I'm close to getting a debut ODI, playing for Australia." Like,
yeah.
It's still like I'm not going to undersell it too much. Like, you're playing for Australia.
Yeah. No. Well, it was a. I don't know. It was
stepping stone for you to get.
No, it was a bit of a funny one. So I'd been playing well for WA in one-day cricket, but they had such a good team. I mean, I played a similar role to Michael Bevan, come in through the middle and just knock it around, run hard, all that sort of, try and finish the innings off. And then Australia were playing a tri-series. The final series was coming up. Half the team didn't want to fly to Perth to play before the finals. So I think Ponting rested, Bevan rested. So I got the phone call, Huss, you're in. I was like, okay, happy days.
Take it.
So it was a bit hollow because it wasn't my spot, I guess, because I was just sort of, sitting on Michael Bevan's sort of spot. But yeah, it was awesome to play at home, at the Wacker, in front of friends and family. I mean, I was exhausted before the game because I had played the game and batted my innings 50 times before I even got to the ground, trying to organise tickets and all that sort of, all the external distractions that just are a nightmare.
Yes.
But the game... We bowled first, and it was a bit of a juicy pitch, and we bowled them out for about 200. And I thought, I'm batting at 7, so I'm not required today, beauty. I can kick back and relax. Suddenly we're like 3 for 5, and I've got the pads on and absolutely shitting myself. And I'm sort of bouncing around the dressing room all over the place. But Gilly and Andrew Simons had this great partnership, smashed them everywhere. And so when I came in, we needed about 35 or 40 runs to win. And just nicked and nudged as I always did and sort of was there at the end too. But I do remember when I walked out to bat, and that's one thing I do love about the WA crowd is that they are so loud for a local player.
Yeah, real loyal.
I'm normally like, as I'm walking out, switched on, what do I need to concentrate on? I need to do this. But I did take a little moment just to sort of like take that in a little bit, and it was pretty special. The roar was huge. I'm actually getting a few goosebumps now just thinking about it, So that was a pretty special day.
Are you nervous at this point, or are you, I don't know, like...
As I'm walking out?
Yeah, as you're walking out.
Oh, yeah, I'm packing my bags. I'm just thinking I just want to get a run, really.
Yeah.
But I had my good mate Simon Kadich was at the other end. He was best man at my wedding, and so we sort of like batting together, which is pretty surreal as well. We'd pretty much come through all the WA pathway together from literally under 13s.
Wow.
And we're here in the middle of the Wacker playing our first, I was playing my first ODI for Australia, and we're out there together to hit the winning run. So that was really cool.
Did he say anything to you? Was it a smile, a wink, a nudge, or was he like, mate, we're going to...
He was a serious customer as well, mate. He's got Yugoslavian blood in him. He's just get the job done, Huss. Don't take any shit from any of these boys. So no, that was pretty cool. But the call before my first Test match, that was a bit different. That was a bit like, wow. So we'd played a one-day game in Victoria. I'd flown back home, and we had JL and Gilly were in the Test team, so they flew from Victoria up to Queensland to prepare for the first Test of the summer against the Windies. And I'd been for like a nice walk along the beach, just coming back to the car, and my phone rings, and it's Trevor Hones, the chairman of selectors. And he said, Huss, JL's hurt his rib. We need you on standby at the Gabba, like straight away. Like, how quick can you get to the airport? And I was like, mate, I'll be there in no time. So bolted home, packed my suitcase, braced out to the airport, and the media obviously must have caught wind of it. So I felt like a rock star. I've turned up at Perth Airport, there's flashes going off, there's cameras everywhere, and I'm thinking, far out, this is a bit of a step up from playing for WA. Got off to a dodgy start. As I lifted my bag onto the conveyor thing, the zip broke and all my clothes fell out over the floor.
No way. Cameras
everywhere. I'm thinking, oh no, this is not good. Anyway, I finally get on the plane and I'm thinking, okay, I can just relax now. I've got a flight to Brisbane, so long flight, I can just chill out. But I had this guy who must have had 25 Scotch and Cokes next to me, and he chewed me ear off the whole time. And I was thinking, far out, this is a nightmare.
Did he know who you were, or is he just...
I don't think so.
Right.
Anyway,
his favourite movies, his favourite Tom Cruise movies.
I don't know. I can't even remember what he was talking about. My head was spinning. Anyway, I got to the team hotel, and our boys were having a team barbecue or whatever, and so I went up to say good day, and the boys were awesome. They were like, welcomed me straight away. They made me feel like I was part of the team, good enough to be there. But I wanted to have a chat to JL. I said, mate, what's going on? And JL is one of the toughest bastards going around. He's like, mate, complete waste of time you being here. There's no way I'm missing a Test match. You might as well bugger off home now. And I was like, okay.
Thanks, Jay.
No worries. Anyway, I had a chat to the physio though, and I said to him, how's he going? He goes, mate, he's struggling. Like, be ready, And I was like, okay. So we came to training the next morning, And I'm watching JL like a hawk, as you can imagine, like just looking for any grimace of pain.
A couple of jabs in his ribs.
Yeah, in the warm-up, just sort of run past him. Sorry, mate. Yeah. He got through fielding okay, and then he was batting first in the nets, and then I was going to bat after him. So he's batting in the nets, and he's batting like a dream. Like he's hitting cover drives, cut shots, pull shots, and I'm thinking, bugger. I've been waiting 10 years for this opportunity. I'm going to miss it again, And anyway, he walks out of the net, and I'm walking in. And he just looks me in the eye with those bloody eyes again and says, mate, I'm out. You're in. Good luck. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And I think I got out my first 5 balls in the net because I couldn't even see the ball. But that was pretty much how I sort of found out that I was going to play Test match the next day.
So a bit soft from JL then, by the sounds of things.
Yeah. Well, probably.
Tongue in cheek.
He missed a couple of tests.
He would have had like shattered ribs, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he would not have been happy missing a test, I can tell you. He would not have been happy at all. Funny enough, you talk about how tough he was. In his 100th test match against South Africa in Johannesburg, Makai Rentini, I think it was one of his first balls that he faced, hit JL in the head, put him out cold. And so JL had to be dragged off. Anyway, the test match goes to 5 days. JL's like out of the game, concussion, whatever. We get down to about 8 or 9 down and still needing about 30 runs. And JL goes and puts the pads on. And Ricky Ponting's the captain, and he is like holding the door saying, you are not coming out. And he goes, JL said, Ricky, if you don't let me bat, our friendship is over.
Did he bat?
And thankfully the boys got the runs 9 down and he didn't have to go and bat.
But he was good to go.
He was going out like concussed and whatever. He didn't care. He said, mate, I'm happy to die for Australia out there in the middle of the Wanderers. So yeah, I'd say the ribs must have been pretty bad.
I mean, like hearing stories like that, and you see them everywhere. You debut as a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
And you're coming in with blokes like this that, again, yes, you're aspiring to play with them, but you're watching them and going, well, how good are these blokes, guys that are willing to die in the middle of it? Like, is there, do you feel pressure, or do you think as a 30-year-old you're like, well, I've got nothing to lose, or like how did you actually feel about? I
think initially I didn't feel any pressure at all. I sort of felt like I'm just so happy to be here. I've got a baggy green cap, something I've been working my whole life for. As you say, I'm playing on the same field some of the greatest players that have ever played the game. I mean, Brian Lara was playing for the opposition. We had Warney, we had Glenn McGrath, Ricky Ponting, Matthew Hayden, JL, Gilly. It was like, how good's this? I didn't feel pressure that I had to score runs because I was thinking if I don't get JL's going to get 100 or Mardo will get 100 or, someone else.
It's not really your fault if you lose. It's the other guys.
Yeah, exactly. So in those early times, I didn't feel any pressure at all. I was just thinking, how good is this? And like you talk about just being so lucky to be on the same field, like Warney, for example, just being in the middle of the Gabba and watching how Warney went about his work. He was a genius. I mean, I remember I managed to slide into third slip. Warney was at first slip. And he was explaining how he was going to get one of the West Indian batters out, Ramnaresh Sarwan. And I don't know if you've tried bowling leg spin before, but it's bloody impossible. It's hard.
It's hard. I'm a leg spinner.
Are you a leggy? Yeah, right. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard work, isn't it?
Absolutely. Hardest you can do.
Anyway, well, you might enjoy this story then. So he's bowling to Ramnaresh Sarwan, and he's explaining to us in the slips, I'm going to bowl a leg spinner on a leg stump. I'm going to bowl a leg spinner on middle stump. I'm going to bowl a leg spinner on off stump. And I'm going to throw the big wide one out there. And then on fifth ball, I'm going to come in and going to get him with a flipper, LBW. And I'm thinking, yep, good plan, like it. So
Sounds good.
I go down to short leg and I'm fielding under the helmet. Right. Warney comes in, first ball, perfect leg spinner on leg stump, and he just defends it. I pick it up, throw it. But this is where the genius of Warne starts. He starts talking to short cover. Ricky's in at short cover. He's saying, Ricky, it's coming to you, mate, but I don't think you're in the right spot. Come forward a bit. Yeah, round to your left. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's where I want you, right? And so Sarwan's eyes are like looking at Ricky. So he's like setting him up here, Next ball, perfect leg spinner, middle stump, defend. I pick it up again, throw it back to him. No, Ricky, couple more in. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And then he'd walk back past the umpire and he'd go, ball 5, LBW, make sure you're ready.
To the umpire?
To the umpire. So the umpire's like, what the hell are you talking about? He goes, just be ready. LBW, ball 5. Bowls another leg spinner on off stump. Sarwan defends again. I pick it up, throw it back, and he's still talking to Ricky. Ricky, round a couple. Yeah, it's coming to you, Ricky. Sure enough, next ball tosses up the big wide one. Sarwan goes for the drive, hits it sort of maybe millimetres off the ground, but it was never going to be out. And Warney throws his hands in the air. I told you, punter, it's coming to you. Be ready, come in a couple more. He walks back past the umpire. Here we go, LBW, make sure you're ready. Sure enough, comes in, bowls the flipper. And Sarwan, he's looking for the sort of drive-through cover or, hitting one to Ricky in the air. So his head's falling way over the offside. He just manages to get a little inside edge onto the pad and survived. He didn't get him LBW. But I just remember standing in the middle of the Gabba in my first test, just thinking, holy cow, how good is this guy to have that plan, but then to execute it, set it up, he's like a magician, bringing all his attention over here, but the real plan was to get him out there, and it was just like, this is like different level altogether.
I like, again, you've been a teammate, but watching Shane Warne, I can visualise the out of the corner to the umpire. Like, he used to speak out the corner of the mouth, like, ball 5, what's the LBW, as he's walking past.
Oh, mate, he was unbelievable. I mean, one of my other early test matches, we're playing in Johannesburg. I don't think it was the one. Might have been the one where JL got hit. I'm not sure. But anyway, it was sort of getting late in the day and he's bowling to Sean Pollock. So it's like third test match, say the third day. And I was quite new to the team, so Warney didn't say too much to me. But anyway, he bowled this ball. Pollock defended it. I picked it up and he goes, Huss, come here. And I run down with the ball and Warney says to me, I don't think I've told this publicly, but
I love when stories start like that.
He goes to me, Huss, I'm pretty sure I've got the same number of wickets as that I've had women. I know I've got 1,246 wickets, and I reckon I've had about the same number of women. And I'm like, what the hell do I say to that? Well, let's get the wickets ahead of the women sort of thing, And so I give him the ball back, and then I run back down, and I could just see Sean Pollock looking at me going like, what the hell's going on here, And I was just like, what the hell is this all about? So I'm saying, Gilly, you never guess what Warney just said to me, Anyway, so I got back to my room that night. I didn't realise. I was thinking, well, it was just a ploy from Warney just to sort of make Sean Pollock think that we're talking about something, setting up sort of plan and whatever. But all he was talking about was how many bloody wickets and women he's had.
So Sean Pollock's thinking first ball,
is
leg
it the wrong one? The wrong one's coming. Is it flipper? What's coming here, And so he was always trying to just do silly stuff like that to try and put the batter off their game.
Who presented you your baggy green?
Yeah, so Bill Brown, he was at the time the oldest living Australian Test player. So
wow.
He was 95, I think he was. And I don't really remember exactly what he said, but just sort of good luck and whatever. But it was pretty cool to have, the oldest living Australian player to present the cap. And at that stage, I was feeling awesome. I was like excited. I'm playing a Test match. How good? So I wasn't nervous at all. But then Ricky went and won the toss, and within about half an hour, I was going to be opening the batting with Matty Hayden.
You opened in your first test?
Yeah. So, because JL was injured, so I was an opener for 10 years. And so I was trying to get in as an opener. But then, so that's when things changed. That's when the Butterflies came and we sang the national anthem, both teams. And I think halfway through that, I lost all feeling in my legs, ran off, got my pads on and went to the toilet for about the 50th time. And there was Warney again, just in his little Playboy underpants, smoking a cigarette.
No.
And he just said, look, Huss, I know you're nervous, but mate, you've got nothing to prove to anyone in this dressing room. Just get out there, play your way and you can't fail. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool coming from someone like Warney. But it didn't help how I was feeling inside. And then when I was walking out to bat, I mean, my head was everywhere. I'd be the first to admit I did not handle my emotions well at all. I only got one run, played a shocking shot, got out. But my head was just all over the place. I just couldn't concentrate. So it was, amazing experience, but I didn't handle it well.
What was it like going back into the rooms after that? What's the feeling of knowing like you only got one run, but at least it's, out of the way or something?
Yeah, I felt like crying actually. I'd had a lot of family and friends fly over for the game, and as it sort of said, the tickets were literally right above the dugout where you sort of walk back down to the dressing room. So I'm sort of like out for nothing and walking down. I just sort of like in my helmet, just sort of glancing up, looking in there, and you can see the despair on their faces. I'm walking down the race to go back to the dressing room. I thought, oh, this is horrible. I just feel like crying.
It's a baptism of fire opening. Yeah. Like, I mean, you're an opener, so you probably don't look at it like that. But I just think like, day one opening the batting and nick off for one or whatever you did.
Well, especially when you think about what my mindset, because I remember before I faced my first ball. So the opening bowler is a guy called Fidel Edwards, big, long run-up from the West Indies, bowled pretty quick. And as he starts his run-up, so I'm tapping my bat, as he starts his run-up, my mind starts wandering off, thinking about playing in the backyard with Dave, how good's this, and now playing Test cricket, playing the fights we used to have, the backyard battles, and then my cricket head would come in and say, for goodness sake, concentrate, you're about to face your first ball in Test cricket, would you? And then my mind would wander off to play for WA again, and I got dropped from the WA team and worked my way back, and it's like, far out, Huss, for goodness sake, you're about to face your first ball, And then as he gets into his delivery stride, just about to bowl, the last thing I remember is sort of just starting to well up a little bit and thinking, you can't be seen crying before your first ball in Test cricket, Yeah. But thankfully, he bowled me this bouncer and it whistled past my eyebrows and so I survived. If he bowled on the stumps, I would have been out for a first ball duck, no question. I didn't even see it. So that's where my mindset was at. But, thankfully, once you get that first one out of the way, then you sort of get back into game mode.
When we've just had like a new opener come in for Australia, so Constance comes in and gets 50 straight off the bat and goes whack. Can you sort of put that in just perspective of us of what he's done there? Because like he's no fear whatsoever.
Well, how he did it.
You crying for that first ball.
Yeah. Oh, I was watching that and I was just in disbelief in how he was playing. I was thinking this kid is unbelievable, in having the courage to be able to play. Like Bumrah's bowling like Bumrah, and he's trying to reverse sweep him. And in the first morning of a Test match, I'm cringing almost, thinking this is not Test cricket. But he's in this beautiful phase of his career where he's just young, naive, no fear whatsoever, where I'm just going to go out there and I'm just going to play. And whatever comes into my head, that's what I'm going to do. He was obviously given a bit of a directive. We need to try and put Bumrah off his length a bit because he hadn't actually played like that in first-class cricket.
No.
So to actually come out and do it in your first Test, it just sort of goes to show you just doesn't care. Just go out there and play, which, I mean, he's going to have some massive challenges along the way in his journey. The expectation's going to be high already for a 19-year-old kid. I did meet him a couple of times in the middle of the MCG before the game and stuff like that. And he just looks, he's just young, and just clear in his head, like doesn't know what's going on around him almost. He's got a lot to learn, but he's obviously got enormous talent.
Yeah. I was reading, because you've faced Jasper, a young Jasper Bumrah, I think. He can bowl.
I remember the first time he came, he was this young kid. I was playing in the IPL for the Mumbai Indians and we're having this net session and I saw this young kid running into bowl and I was like, where the heck have they found this guy from? Because his run-up's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, this ball came out and I didn't even see it. And I was like an experienced campaigner. And I faced him for about half an hour in the nets and I reckon I hit about 2 balls. I thought, yeah, this kid's good.
Right.
I knew there was a special talent there, but everyone thought he could only be a white ball player. Because of his action and he's going to break down and that. And I thought, no way, he's got the skill to play all forms of the game. But what I'd love about him most is he's such a great character. He's not like arrogant or he's very down to earth, especially for such a megastar in India. Like I don't know if you've seen or heard of it before, but these guys literally, they couldn't walk outside here without getting mobbed by 1,000, 10,000 people. Like we experienced it with the MS Dhoni in our team at the Chennai Super Kings. He literally cannot leave the hotel. We have like probably over maybe I don't know how many thousand people just outside our hotel to catch a glimpse of our bus going to training just to get a glimpse of MS Dhoni.
Really?
And Bumrah's going to be in that sort of mould as well. But he just takes it in his stride. He's so calm and measured and consistent just emotionally, really. So he's a special guy.
It's a bit different to Michael Hussey breaking his bag, putting it on the conveyor belt.
Well, I felt like a rock star that day, but didn't really stand up to the pressure.
Don't happen to one of those boys, there'd be clothes getting ripped apart.
That's right.
Back on your Test stuff, 2005, you hit your first century. Is that clearly that's a great moment, but is that something that's like at the very top, like making 100 for Australia playing Test cricket?
Yeah.
And what's it like?
It is. It's probably, that happened in my second Test down in Hobart, which was just a different feel altogether. Like I wasn't, my emotions were a lot more calmer that game and beautiful batting pitch. It was the moment where you sort of, because after I played my first Test match, we won the game, and I'm sitting in the room with all these legends, thinking, "How good's this? I've got a baggy green cap." But I had this feeling inside, I want to have another crack at this because I want to be able to prove to myself and maybe the world that I could actually succeed at this level as well. I don't want to be one of those guys that just played 1 or 2 tests and didn't do anything and then, just remembered as, someone that played. I wanted to prove to myself I could succeed as well. And so coming in my second test, scoring 100, that was the moment where you thought, okay, I can succeed at the highest level. And that's why I hate watching the old footage because all the emotion, probably 10 years of pent-up emotion just poured out of me and I carried on like a bloody schoolboy.
Pork chop.
And I really cringe when I see it, but it was just such a special moment because you sort of proved to yourself in the world that you can do it.
That's so cool. With with guys coming into the test team now, and if they don't perform well, I don't know, it seems like they could sort of get dropped pretty quickly. Did you, when you're a batter, right, and your whole thing is to make runs and you don't, and you, like you said, you want to have another crack at it, was there anything said to you that like, don't worry, you'll get a few chances at this? Because I don't know, at any moment you could just get dropped and not play.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I was lucky to come into that Australian team with all those legends there. They'd been together for 10 years. They knew each other inside and out. They were very assured with their places in the team. The team was winning. So there was never a culture of walking around on eggshells worried about your place in the team. It was almost like, I think the narrative was it's harder to get into the Australian team than it was to get out of.
Yeah.
And that probably gave you a lot of peace of mind thinking, well, I don't have to worry about that stuff. I just need to worry about doing my job on the field. If I do my job on the field, then hopefully you'll be fine. Your place in the team's assured. Probably where it changed for me and where I made a similar mistake as what I did when I was younger was when all those legends started to leave. Hayden retired, Warne, McGrath, Langer all retired. I started to look around the room thinking, okay, right, I'm a senior player now. I've got to take more responsibility. I've got to be one of the main players in the team. And automatically, inadvertently started putting more pressure back on myself again. And that, like what I found out earlier in my career, had a detrimental effect on my performance. The harder I tried, the worse I went. I had like a long period where I was hanging in there, but I wasn't scoring as many runs as I would have liked. I mean, I might have got the odd 40 or the odd 60, maybe just to keep the Wolves at bay a bit. But, I mean, there was starting to get, the noises were getting loud, especially as you get into your mid-30s. It's like, okay, he's had his go now. We've got to get some young blood in. So that's the part I found really challenging. And it actually got to a stage, it was the last test match in an Ashes series in England, 2009. And basically all the narrative was, well, this is Hussey's last test. He's got to go. Had a average. I mean, I didn't have a bad Ashes series, but I didn't have a great Ashes series. And I got a duck in the first innings of the last test. And for some reason, we had the bloody TV on in the dressing room, and we normally don't. But Ian Chappell was saying, well, this is going to be Mike Hussey's last test innings. And I remember just sitting there thinking, well, if this is going to be my last innings, I don't want it to be one of stress and pressure and anxiety and not a good memory, If it's going to be my last one, I'm just going to, stuff it. I'm just going to go out there and what will be, and just enjoy my last test innings, And funny enough, as soon as you take that pressure off yourself, you just relax a bit, go and play your game. Had a little bit of luck, got dropped, managed to go on and get 100 and save my career and managed to play on for another 3 or 4 years after that. But again, I fell into that same mistake as I did when I played for WA, trying to push into the Australian team. Putting too much pressure on myself, trying so hard, wanting it so much. Sometimes you just almost got to let go of that, Sometimes the harder you try, the worse you go. And if you just, I know it's easy to think now, but it's hard to do when you're right in there in amongst it.
Yeah, there's a quote recently that I read, something that you did while you were a senior player in the Australian team, and that was have a bit of an influence on Nathan Lyon. So I think he's become the third all-time wicket taker for Australia, which is huge. He's one of the greatest and a huge hero of Australian cricket fans. He said that you said something to him on his debut that he's held on to this entire time.
Okay.
Yeah, this was like a couple of days ago. He just said it was just like a go out there and have fun and just be yourself sort of thing. But he said like that was the thing that he's held on to for the last 14 years. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to have that sort of influence on a player like that.
I think, my message mainly to young guys that are coming in to play their first games or whatever is you don't have to try harder or think you've got to play better or do more. You just got to do what you've been doing. That's what got you to this level. So just keep doing that. Yes, okay, the standard might go up a little bit, but I think if you start trying to play like someone else or try and put more pressure on yourself and do more, then it quite often can have a detrimental effect. I mean, I remember Nathan Lyon's first test, funny enough, it was in Sri Lanka where the boys have just finished now, playing at the same ground at Galle. And we had like an interesting team at the time. We had a group of older guys, which I was one of them, and a group of younger guys coming through. Lyon was one of them, Mitchell Stark, Usman Khawaja. I'm not sure Paddy Cummins was there, but all those sort of guys were just sort of starting their careers. Phil Hughes was another one. And so JL was the batting coach, and he sort of came up with this idea, we'll get a bit of a buddy system going. And so I jumped onto Nathan Lyon. He was going to be my buddy. And it was just to basically look out for them, and get any fears they have or any doubts, they've got someone to bounce ideas off, catch up with them. And Nathan Lyon, he's a nervous guy, he's played 130 odd test matches, but it's like the boys give him sticks, sort of saying it's like he's playing his first test every single time. He gets that nervous. So, we just clicked straight away. Really good relationship, really good rapport. Remember, he got a first wicket off his very first ball in Test cricket, 5 for on debut.
Wow.
But it's not so. When I retired, I was also like the JL gave me the team song. So when we win a Test match, I lead the team song. And when I retired, I had to give it to someone, pass that on. And the team was really in transition, and I didn't know who to give it to. I didn't know who was still going to be in the team in a year's time, But so we talk about Nathan Lyon. I handed the team song on to him. And it wasn't so much because I thought he was necessarily a great bowler or anything, but it was more about the character that he was. He was someone that really respected the game. He worked hard. He respected the traditions and the history of the game, the past players. He played the game for the right reasons, not for the fame or the fortune and all those external fluffy things. He played the game because he loved the game of cricket. So I sort of went out on a limb because I didn't know, like, off spinner playing a lot of Test cricket for Australia. It hasn't really happened a lot in the past, but thankfully it's obviously worked out really well. But I think it's more because he's such a great character.
That singing and leading the song in footy terms is fines master, I think.
Yeah.
And that I saw as fines master, and handing that on, it's They can pick a captain out anywhere, right? Who cares? Oh, you're good at cricket. Here's the captaincy. No worries.
Yeah.
Mate, to lead that song, that's a big responsibility because, as I said, there's the history.
Yeah.
It's not – it's very different to being captain, clearly. But it's important for culture, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
that's what that team song is. It's not – it doesn't mean much if you think about it, but it means everything, like being able to get together, do those things, tradition. That's what actually holds things together.
I used to love it because like Ricky Ponting's someone I've got so much respect for. He's, great captain, great player. But we win a massive test match or a massive series and we're sitting in, say, the SCG dressing rooms and Ricky be there like, come on, Huss, when are we doing the song? Ricky, you're not the boss anymore, mate. You sit down there, just enjoy yourself, grab a cold beer. Yeah. I'll sort it out now, mate. So I used to love that. But we used to just try and make it really interesting and like go to different places. So it wasn't just in the dressing room. Sometimes we'd be in the room. Sometimes we'd sort of go out. So for example, at Galle, where the boys had just been playing, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures, but there's that beautiful fort just behind the ground there. Yeah. So we won a test match in Galle, and we went up onto the fort there to sing the song, and the boys were walking around having a good look around. So I think in South Africa, the boys went up Table Mountain. I think Matty Hayden, there's pictures of him naked on top of the cable cart going up there.
That's right. Yeah, we've heard that. Yeah.
So, we try and mix up, but particularly want to make it special for if it's your first test match. And so because I want those guys to go away and sort of think, wow, that's one of the greatest things to be part of all time. So put a lot of time and effort into it.
You're talking about at different stages in your career putting maybe too much pressure on yourself. And again, I have no idea, but Mr. Cricket, right, the nickname that I'm assuming you didn't give yourself, right? Do you sometimes look at that and think like the Mr. Cricket, whatever that was sometimes too much, or am I just putting that in my head?
No, that's spot on. I hated it to start with. I mean,
which was why it stuck, by the way.
Yeah,
if you hated nicknames,
exactly. Yeah. No, I didn't like it, and I didn't like it because one, I didn't deserve it. I'm definitely not the best player that's ever played the game. I definitely don't know as much about the game as other players do. Like, Warney and Murali, they know more about the game than me. But I do love the game very much, and I think that's where it sort of came from. But I'm sure there's other people that love it as much, or if not more than what I do as well. So that's why I don't think I'm deserving of it. But it started when I was playing county cricket in England, and I was playing for Durham, and we were playing against Lancashire. And for Lancashire, Brad Hodge was the overseas player for them, and Andrew Flintoff was playing, Jimmy Anderson was playing. And it was one of those typical days in Manchester at Old Trafford where it's cold, it's drizzly rain, clouds are like literally on your head. You know, it's horrible. No one wanted to be there.
Beautiful English weather.
Except for me. I was loving it. I was in the middle. I'm running hard between the wickets. I'm glove punching. I'm chatting to my mate at the other end. And Freddie Flintoff turns to Hodgie and he said, mate, who the hell is this guy? He loves cricket more than anyone I know. He must be Mr. Cricket. And Hodgie got a bit of humour out of it. So he brought it back to Australia. He told Andrew Simons. And Simo, he had the greatest sense of humour of all time. So he's the one that made it stick. I got that much stick, but I didn't like it because I didn't deserve it.
Well, that's why it's stuck, though. Any nickname that people don't like, that's like, well, that's forever. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
We're going to keep rolling through moments, mate, but we're watching some highlights before you came in here. I think I'm sure there's some lowlights too.
There's plenty, don't worry.
Yeah, middle stump flying out of the ground, all that sort of stuff. But hitting winning runs for Australia, I think it was England, and is that they made 560.
Yeah.
You blokes came out, made 500. Then they got rolled, and you had about 35 overs.
Yeah.
And you had to come out and you were batting winning runs. Huge moment. One of the best.
Still to this day, the best feeling I've ever had on a cricket field. Amazing. Oh, they call it Amazing Adelaide now. No one gave us a chance of winning on that last day. I didn't even give ourselves a chance of winning on the last day. You know, I turned up on day 5 thinking pretty relaxed. It's just going to be a boring draw. You know, just smallish crowd. We had this bit of a team meeting beforehand, before the 5th day, which was unusual. You don't really have team meetings during a game. And it was Warnie again, Ricky and John Buchanan, the coach. They sat everyone down in the dressing room and said, right, boys, well, Ricky was the one leading it. He said, we can win this bloody test match, but we've got to believe we can win this test match. And I was at the back, yeah, right, mate. There's no chance, you know. Anyway, Ricky was sort of saying we can go one of two ways because England were 1 down and they had about a lead of about 70 runs at that stage. So we had to get 9 wickets, bowl them out, and then chase down whatever was left in the last day. Or on the last day. And Ricky goes, right, we can go all out attack. We've got to get these 9 wickets. We'll set attacking fields. We'll just go for wickets every ball. We've got to try and get wickets. We can go like that. It might cost us a few runs, so we might have to chase a few more. We can go that way, or we can go the other way. We'll just be a bit more defensive with our fields. We'll just squeeze them. Just let the pressure build. We might get a lucky wicket here or there, and then suddenly they'll feel the pinch. And as a team, we decided to go that way. We're just going to go, just squeeze them and build that pressure on them, and you know, hope for the best. And I mean, we had the greatest leg spinner of all time in Warnie. So he bowled 2 sessions non-stop from one end. And I think I vaguely remember him bowling 1 bad ball in 4 hours of bowling. 1 bad ball. He was bowling like a genius. And then that let Ricky rotate the fast bowlers from the other end. We got the ball to reverse swing. We did get lucky. We got a run out early. Andrew Strauss was given out shocking decision. So we had a bit of luck there. There was no DRS in those days. Shocking decision. And then you could just feel the Poms just sort of like squeeze up a bit. They weren't looking to score. They were just looking to hang in there and just survive. And that sort of played into our hands. And then the more wickets we got, I mean, you probably know from playing at the Adelaide Oval, like the crowd just started streaming in from the city.
The hill.
Yeah, and the hill started to fill up. And, you know, so we got them 8 down and we got 9 down. And then when we got them all out, that's when I had my first sort of hit of nerves thinking, oh, shivers, we actually might win this game. We need about 160, which is still a fair chase in about 35 overs. So it wasn't going to be easy on a 5th day pitch. But the crowd had really built up. JL set the tone. He smoked like the first one for 4. Haydos was teeing off. And then, I sort of came out. It was a bit like a one-day sort of chase. So I was batting with Ricky was batting like Bradman at that stage. He just couldn't get out. And so I was just sort of on his coattails and we were just chipping away. And, yeah, to be out there, to hit those winning runs was unbelievable feeling. Just to see like the crowd going nuts, the Barmy Army going nuts. Even like my teammates came running onto the field, which we never really did that in those days. You know, you'd always just stand there and just have a sort of clap in the dressing room. And they came streaming onto the field as well. And I was like, what's going on, you know? So we had a good celebration that night in the Adelaide Oval dressing rooms.
Did you? How long did that go for?
It's a bit fuzzy. Funny enough, Damien Martin retired that night and didn't tell anyone. And a few of the Poms came in and we were sitting around having a beer with them. And Andrew Flintoff, the captain of the English team, he wanted to stay for the team song.
Yes.
So JL was leading the song at that stage, and he had great pleasure in kicking the English captain out of the dressing room. So
Wouldn't let him stay?
No chance. So we could belt out underneath the Southern Cross.
So good.
This must have been blind. I love that about cricket though. Like I subscribe to that. Like what happens on the field, like enemies, like don't cross me. But as soon as the game's over, like it doesn't really it doesn't happen at the elite level.
Yeah.
Like it would never happen, West Coast and Freo getting together for a beer. And I don't love that. Like I would happily have a beer with anyone. I love that about cricket.
Yeah, we used to do it
Pretty
after
special.
every test match.
Yeah.
But now it's sort of at the end of my career, it stretched out to doing it at the end of a series.
Yeah.
And then sometimes now they're just moving on so quickly. They've got another series somewhere else. They're just gone within the next day. So it is a shame because you listen to the old boys that you can learn a lot at that, from those sort of discussions after the game. And I actually needed it, because 5 days of test cricket in the lead up to the game and then the game is so intense. There's so much stress, pressure, anxiety.
Yeah.
I was just like, I needed that unwind time. I needed to be able to mentally just relax and just, I don't know, get all that out of my system almost, then refresh and start again.
Again, we could bounce around lots of stories, but one thing that one Dan and I found, which I thought was pretty funny, Faf du Plessis, I don't know if it was his debut
Please
or if
tell
it
us
was
the
his
story.
100th or what's happened here? Because I was laughing reading the story, and that's without hearing. What did you get? A bottle of wine or something? Well, what are you doing? We're just talking about how nice the camaraderie is, not before a game.
Yeah.
What happened?
Okay, I'm getting a bit uneasy now, aren't I? I copped so much stick for this, by the way.
Great,
So, yeah,
perfect.
it was his first test match, but we'd played together at the IPL, together for Chennai Super Kings, so we'd become pretty good mates. And I'd sort of like watched his, development as a player and, tried to help him along the way a little bit as well because he was a bit younger than me. And then he's been picked for a test match to play for Australia. And so on the quiet, I thought I'm going to buy him a nice bottle of red and I'm going to just sort of quietly give it to him and say, mate, congratulations on your first test. So I snuck down into their dressing room early before the day's play.
And you're playing.
Yeah, I'm playing in the
playing for
test.
Australia.
Yeah,
And are you like sneaking the bottle like under your shirt or something so the boys don't see it?
Yeah. So I went in early that day.
Right.
Adelaide Oval, you just walk to the ground. So I snuck in early, had it in my backpack, got into their dressing room. Their players weren't there yet. So I spoke to their coach and just said, can you just pass this on to Faf?
I thought it was poison.
Congratulate. It was a fully sealed bottle of wine, It was a nice penfold. So it was,
Oh, yeah, we're talking like $30 or we're talking $100.
No, it was a nice bottle.
Good,
There's a funny follow-up story with that. But anyway, really, really nice bottle of wine. Faf gets in to do the press conference and he mentions it in the press conference. And I'm like, Faf, I just wanted to keep this between us quiet. So I'm out in the field, Faf's out there batting. And instead of all that, my teammates getting stuck into Faf, they're getting stuck into me. And I'm like, boys, he's the opposition. Get into him, not me. So I never forgave Faf for that. But
Here comes your best mate, Huss.
Here he comes. Yeah. Oh, you going to tie shoelace for him? You're going to mark centre for him? I was like, for goodness sake. But funny enough, he always kept that bottle of wine, and so I signed it for him after the game, and he's kept it like for his whole. He still wanted it, right? So. Yeah. We caught up literally last year and he said, Huss, I hate to ask, but would I be able to get another bottle of wine? I said, what do you mean? What's happened? And he said, I went away with my wife and we had a house sitter come in. She had a party.
No.
And she's gone into my cellar and she's basically cleaned out all my good stuff and she's took the bottle of wine you gave me all those years ago and she's drunk it with her mates.
You're kidding.
Oh, wow.
So I was like,
what's this scribble on this one?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, this must be an old one. Yeah. We'll try this. So,
That's too Faf. Congratulations on a lifetime of effort for your first test match. Oh, let's just knock this one off.
Yeah, we had like visions of, like when he finished his career, we were going to sit down together and drink it, together and have a briar in his house in South Africa. And
So what have you done? Have you replaced it?
I have replaced it, yeah. So it's not the same, but I mean, it's,
That's a good
story.
That's very good. Have you shared that before? No, mate,
I don't think so.
I haven't seen that.
That's funny.
You got other stuff? I just feel like I keep peppering.
Yeah,
I don't know. We've missed so much. Like T20 and the emergence of the IPL. Like, you go through your test career and then this league starts up in India.
Yeah.
And you played and probably towards the back end.
No, I love mate. IPL was awesome, and what I loved about it, I still remember. So one thing it has done is in Australia, and especially that great team that I was talking about with all those legends, we had an aura over the world. Like teams, we'd literally rock up, and the other team was half beaten already. You know, that because we were this tough, hard, nasty Australian team, we'd put your foot on the throat. We'd never let it off, and we'd just crush you. Suddenly, the IPL turns up. And I still vividly remember it. I was in the same team as Matthew Hayden at the Chennai Super Kings. And the very first day, we're walking into the dressing room. And you can imagine there's all these Indians and a few other overseas players in the dressing room. And in comes Matthew Hayden, this massive unit, big bad ogre.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and I can just see these Indians cowering into the corner thinking, oh, no, here he comes. And he's like, g'day, boys, how you going, Matthew Hayden? And they're like, they had this picture of this big, bad, ugly monster, and he's this great guy, nice guy, chatting to everyone, welcoming, and they're like just perplexed. They're like, so I think the IPL in that respect has sort of diminished the aura around the Australian team.
Detriment to the Australian cricket team.
But what I loved about it was that it brought together players from all over the world, playing with West Indians, South Africans, Kiwis. First year there was Pakistanis there as well, along with the Indians. And you're just learning so much, especially in India, learning how to play in Indian conditions, talking to the Indians about how they play their spin. West Indians have a completely different view on the game. South Africans do. And it just, I don't know, just the amount of sharing of information was so good. And that's what I loved about it the most. The first couple of years of IPL wasn't that serious. So the cricket was kind of secondary, and the parties and the hot Bollywood stuff was probably, more front of mind.
Sounds awful.
So, mate, it was so much fun to start with. But I think it grew so quickly, and coaches, players realised this is going to be massive, and so it became very serious very quickly.
Yeah. You're now coaching.
I coach with Chennai now, batting coach. I love it. Like the talent there is unbelievable, and get to, coach loosely. It's more like trying not to stuff them up.
Yeah.
With some of the greatest players, like so MS Dhoni, for example, like arguably, well, in my mind, he's the greatest finisher of games in the history of the game. To be able to sort of work with him is just, I've sort of pinched myself really. I had a bit of a dodgy moment early in my coaching career. So we finished first, and we're playing the team that finished second, and whoever wins that game goes straight through to the grand final. So it's a big game, and we're an old team, so we need to basically get that. It's not a week off, but it's basically get a game off. Otherwise, if we lose, then we've got to go fly somewhere else, play again, and then we've got to come back 2 days later and try and play in the final. So anyway, the night before this big final, the analyst sends me through this split screen of Rashid Khan. We're playing against Rashid Khan. And it's basically when he bowls his wrong-un, he runs in and his fingers are together. And when he bowls his leggy, he runs in and his fingers are apart.
Right.
And I'm
good
thinking,
intel.
This is good. This is the night before the game, though.
Right.
So I'm sitting on it, I'm thinking, do I send this out to the batters or do I not? And I sat there looking at it for an hour. Because obviously you don't want to put too much stuff in the guy's head the night before the game. No, they've got their plans. They're clear on what they want to do. Just let them sleep and just come up and just play. But I'm sitting on this. I'm thinking, so I don't know what to do. So anyway, I thought stuff. I'll never forgive myself if I just didn't send it out. So I sent. We've got a batting group or whatever, and I said, look, for what it's worth, you might want to use this. You might not. If you don't want to, just ignore it completely. Don't worry. Anyway, Faf du Plessis, he loves that sort of stuff. He wants to know all that sort of stuff. He came back straight away. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks very much. That's great. Anyway, didn't really hear back from many of the Indian guys. They don't sort of get too sort of stuck into that sort of stuff. Anyway, we come to the game the next day. We're playing. We're in all kinds of trouble. We're like 4 down for nothing. Dhoni walks to the crease. Saviour. We're right. Faf's at one end. Dhoni's at the other. We'll get these runs. We're chasing a pretty big score, but we're in a bit of trouble. Rashid Khan comes in. First ball. Bowls the wrong-un. Dhoni goes for the cover drive, hitting against the spin, bowled. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we're 5 for nothing now, and we're chasing a big score. We're in deep trouble. Best finish is gone. And Dhoni walks straight off. And you've got to understand, this guy is a megastar. Like, he's bigger than God.
Yep.
And so he walks straight off the field, And he comes down and he looks me straight in the eye and he goes, "I'll bat my own fucking way, thanks," and sits down next to me.
Oh, boy.
And I'm like, "Oh, coaching career done."
What was your reaction? Are you just in silence going, fuck, I
So
shouldn't
the
have
rest
said
of the
that
game, I'm just sitting there like a stunned mullet, like, holy cow. Anyway, Faf gets us over the line. We win the game, amazingly. Somehow we fall over the line. To Donny's credit, he was very good. Like, he's a great guy. He's so measured. He comes up after the game and said, "Look, the information was great, but I needed time to process it. I needed a couple of net sessions to actually look at the hand, then watch the ball and then play it." And I was like, totally, I get that, but throwing it on me the night before was probably not what I needed, and I learning experience from a coach,
Yes.
So that was a pretty tough start to my coaching sort of
that's
career,
a
but
good story,
thankfully he stuck with me.
It's like the first ball wrong and bowled. You're just like, oh no. What
Bet
have
my
I
own way, thanks.
Yeah, it's very
great.
Huss, we're gonna give you some questions from our audience. Some good questions come through from our fans for you last night. That's us from that's it
Yes.
from Dan and I though.
Well,
Did you have fun with that?
we could have hours with you.
Yeah, I know, mate.
No,
Brilliant
it's
storyteller, and it's been a great chat. Like I always say, the ones that I shut up and listen to, they're usually the best ones.
Yep.
So they've been good. But it's time for social media. This is the questions from the people. Could be hard hitting, could be completely random. We don't know where this is going to go.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready to go.
It'd be like facing Shoaib, I reckon, or maybe like Sean Tate, just like the wild thing. Could be anywhere.
No, thanks.
John _Dawson.
Top 5 West Australian batters of all time.
Oh,
Yeah,
gee,
yeah.
that's tough.
Yeah.
Top 5 WA batters of all time. Oh, well, I think JL's got to be in there.
Good choice.
Have you got a top 5 list there?
No, they just want to know your top 5.
You're the cricketer, mate.
You're Mr. Cricket.
I'm not good with all this sort of stuff. Okay. Can you throw around a few names with me?
Gilly?
Gilly was pretty good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Hussey.
Nah. I mean, I like Kim Hughes as a youngster coming through. Kim Hughes was so funny. He, when I was a youngster coming through, so I was like, must have been 15 or something like that. And as I said earlier, I was like a dour player.
Yeah.
Didn't have any shots. Kim Hughes, flamboyant, great, great to watch. He sat down with a young academy group, which I was part of, and he said, "Boys, when you go out to bat, aim for 300 because if you stuff up and only get halfway, you're still done pretty bloody good."
I could so imagine him, and then,
and then just burst out laughing.
Yeah.
I'll throw some Jeff Marsh.
Yeah, Swamp. I'll tell you what, Sean was a very good player.
Sean Marsh.
He was very good.
I'm just throwing there.
Just throw him out because I need to jog my memory.
Damien Martin.
Oh, yeah, Marto. Yeah, he's definitely in there.
Yeah, Gilchrist Langer, Martin. You've made ChatGPT's top 10. I just asked ChatGPT.
Okay.
Top 10 you're in top 10.
There you go.
Sean Marsh.
Moose.
Mitch is not there. Graham Wood.
Graham Wood was a gun, yeah.
Yes. And Bruce Laird from back in the 70s.
Oh, so
and
Laird
80s.
wasn't necessarily the greatest player, but he was probably our most courageous player. He stood up to the Windies when they were like 4-pronged pace attack
Body
and just
line.
bumpers at you every ball, and he'd take them on, and so he was like revered by the WA faithful and Australian players as well. I think you rattled off some
Yeah,
good names
that's a good list there.
Covered them there.
Connor Morrissey music.
If Ponting, that thing's in the way.
Sorry.
If Ponting, Clark, Hussey, and Simons all are in the same team at the same time, who fields where?
Well, Ponting will be at second slip. I'll go the gully. Pup can go, or Michael Clark can go at point, and Simo cover.
Pretty good fielders
Yeah,
in the list.
good lineup.
Leave yourself out of it, but those three other lads
Oh,
could
mate,
field.
they were unbelievable. Yeah.
No, you spoke about getting dropped from the WA team. Someone's just asking about the difficult parts of your career, but I feel like we've asked that. Stefan 1039.
How good was the graphite-backed Beast bat?
Oh, yes, they were.
What is that?
What is that?
So Kookaburra brought out this type of bat where it was just a normal cricket bat, but they put this carbon fibre on the back and it was like black and it had like this picture of a beast on it. The kids loved them. But they were so good. Honestly, I'm not a big hitter, but I hit balls. I hit the roof at the, what's it called? Marvel Stadium, which never happened back in those days.
With that bat?
With that
Was
bat.
it legal or did they ban it?
So we got away with it for about a year, maybe 2 years. And then I think it was the MCC in England.
Looks good. Jade's just holding up a photo.
Yeah.
That's elite.
I've still got a couple of them at home.
Do ya?
And they banned them. Yeah, they said no. They were no good.
It's like Ian Thorpe's full body suit. They're like, oh, good job. Are you like, I don't know if this is what it is, like a Batman? Like, do you have like, not Batman, but like you got bats that you've played with and favourite bats, and you got, how many you got at home?
I've got a lot still at home.
Do you?
Yeah. I'm a bit of a bat nuffy.
Right.
Yeah, I used to collect a fair few bats. Still got quite a few. Hoping my boys will be able to use them when they get a bit older.
How many have you got? Give me a number. Like, are we talking like 10 or are we talking like 100?
Probably 50.
Wow.
That's a lot.
But I also kept my 100 bats. So any 100 that I scored for Australia, I've sort of kept as well.
So you've got 19 of those?
19 test hundreds and then a couple of one-day hundreds as well.
Were they all different bats?
No, there was a lot of different bats, but a couple that were quite good to me, yeah.
Oh, very good. Dan, you can take us where you'd like.
This is from Wardy_85. Worst teammate to travel with?
Murali. Murali. I played with Murali at the IPL, and he should be Mr. Cricket, by the way.
Right.
He does not shut up about cricket. And anyway, all the players and the coaches just couldn't cop Murali because he just didn't shut up. And he just wanted to talk cricket 24/7. So they said to me, right, Huss, you're Mr. Cricket, you've got to go and sit next to Murali on the planes. On the buses, on the planes, you're next to Murali. And so I'll be like, yeah, no worries. I'm happy to talk to Murali. No worries. So I got through about 3 or 4 plane trips with Murali, and then it was like, oh my gosh. So I had to quickly get into my seat, get my headphones on as quickly as I possibly could and pretend I was asleep because he did not shut up.
Oh, yeah.
But worst roommate in the early days was probably Brad Hogg.
Oh, Hoggy.
Yeah, Hoggy.
He's a talker too.
Yeah. He had this hung out the whole bloody time. But my very first Shield game was down in Hobart. I'm rooming with Brad Hogg, and at about 5 a.m, I just hear this thud, 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 and it's not what you're thinking, no. And it was Brad Hogg. I woke up completely naked, bowling a cricket ball against the wall at 5 a.m, and I was like, what the hell are you doing, you know? And I thought this Shield cricket must be bloody serious stuff, you know? It's Hoggy.
Hoggy's lost his mind next door.
All right, this is from Grey Mysterio.
Yeah,
what's the weirdest thing you've ever signed?
Weirdest thing I've ever signed? Nah, nothing too weird. I mean, sometimes late in the day, you know, when people have had a few too much to drink, they sort of want you to sign their ass or their boobs or something like that, you know, which didn't happen very often.
We went out to I've got one question out in here before we put the last one. We went out, I remember going out at West Coast Play and we signed like a car. Someone had a car and they were like, we were painting on the car and it was like this yellow and blue like Volkswagen thing. And I saw it driving around not too long ago. I was like, it's still going around. I just had a question about footy. Like you're a West Coast man, aren't you?
I am.
Talk to us about you watch every game? Like how?
Most games. I sort of do like to watch a bit. I've been to one grand final, and
if it was 15, you can get out.
2018.
Okay, that's good. I was going to say 15 when I talked about it.
No, that was a great day.
That's the only grand final you've ever been to.
It's the only one I've ever been to. Fox managed to sort me out with a few tickets. So
thank you very much, Fox.
I did the longest kick beforehand.
Did you?
They didn't let us do the long ones. We had to try and get it into like a accurate kick for charity or something.
Okay.
But then anyway, went along to the game, and after the first probably 15 minutes, Collingwood had kicked the first 5 goals. I've got 2 kids with me, and they both looked at me and said, "Dad, do something." I was like, What do you want me to do? Come on, boys. Let's get the next one.
Funnily enough, we're having the same discussion out in the middle. God, someone do something.
But yeah, just to watch you guys bloody just slowly just claw it back was just unbelievable. We were like surrounded by heaps of Collingwood fans. So it was a great, one of the greatest days ever. And then when Dom Sheed put that last one through, that last 2 minutes felt like it went forever. But yeah, just to be there, like obviously only grand final I've ever been to, but to be there to watch your team play and to win it was just like all your Christmases coming at once.
You've nailed it. Like you're not going back. Like seriously, it's never going to happen again.
I actually grew up a Saints fan. And my dad was a passionate St Kilda fan, and my brother's still a Saints fan. But when the WA team came in 86 or 87, I was like, no, I'm following WA.
You made the right call.
I'm jumped up. Yeah, that's right.
Dan's a big West Coast nut.
Yeah. I mean, but imagine being a Saints fan.
Yeah, I know.
right now.
I know.
Just,
I used to get excited because I used to watch the Winners on Channel 2. They did give like a rundown of all the games and stuff like that. And watching the Saints highlights at muddy Moorabbin, like players just covered in mud. And if we lost by 3 points, then I was the most happiest and most excited kid going around, even after a loss. So it was hard to watch. Although there's been some good players. Plugger was good to watch, and Robert Harvey. And
Mate, we just had Brad Hill about half an hour before you got here.
Oh, right. Wow.
He's a good man, Brad Hill.
Very good.
I'm actually not minding St Kilda this year. I don't know.
You chop and change.
I tell you,
constantly.
West Coast. I'm a little bit worried about West Coast.
Yeah, makes sense.
We'll be fun.
Last question.
Tappy95 says, how does Mr. Cricket like his eggs? Sincerely, the Eggman.
Poached. I've actually got a bit of an addiction to Eggs Benedict.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it has to be good quality ham though. Otherwise, I prefer to go bacon. I love the hollandaise sauce.
Yeah, are you like putting your own on if you're cooking at home, or are you talking like cafe?
Oh no, it's when I go out. I don't have it at home.
Yeah, I was thinking that was sort of
Eggs Benedict.
operation you're running at home.
No, not at home.
Sort of cafe chef Hussey.
No, a bit of salt and pepper on top. Beautiful. Eggs Benedict.
Perfect.
Pretty rare answer, really. I don't
And
get a lot of
Benedict's
Eggs
so
Benedict.
good. I love Benedict. Might go get that now.
Mate, great. That's us, mate. Did you have fun?
Great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Brilliant chat. The man who did his best to become Australia's greatest squash performer, who turned cricketer, Mike Hussey, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow us on socials, BackChat _. And if you want to get in touch, backchatstudios.com.au. Get all the stuff there. Big thanks to our sponsors, Paywise, ID Athletic, Whippersnapper Whisky, Mumba Digital, TABtouch, Shelter Brewing Co, Leadable Precinct, On One Services. Yes, we have more sponsors than the Australian cricket team, us. And then, we could actually rival an IPL team, I reckon.
I reckon you could.
Yeah, very good.
Might not be as much payment-wise as the IPL
If
team.
you could potentially get BackChat on Chennai, maybe just a full back.
I'll see if I can get on Dhoni's bat, maybe.
Perfect,
please.
done. Hey, we wouldn't have a problem with you doing that. Mate, that's us. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.